Hi, everyone.
Hey,
I'm Alicia,
and I'm Meredith.
and this is Summer is Fun, a Summer House podcast. We've made it, season 6, reunion number 1 out of
Woohoo.
2. There better not be a 3. There's
I
not.
don't think there is.
So far it was fine. I personally, that season 5 Summer House reunion was one of the best. And now with like Real Housewives really coming through on reunions, this one was like okay.
But I think they wanted to get, in my
but-
opinion, I think they wanted to get this elephant in the room out of the way so we can like
nightmares.
In my opinion, we are going to enjoy next episode.
You
way
mean
better.
the Muppet out of the room?
I'm sorry, yeah, not the elephant in the room, the Muppet in the room.
The Muppet in the room. Okay, so before we get started, check us out on the A&M Podcast Network. We have this podcast. We have It's About the Pasta of Vanderpump Rules podcast, which is now premiering season 4, and our show One Season Wonders, which will premiere either Princess of Malibu or Lindsay Lohan's
We're doing
Beach
both.
Club next.
It'll just be the next 2 seasons.
Yes, I don't know which one's going to come out first. We haven't decided what mood we're in. It's all going to come down to that day when we have to watch.
I think it'll be Princess of Malibu because it's less episodes first, so we can crunch that out.
That's true.
And then dedicate some time to Lindsay Lohan as she deserves.
That's true. Good points. Okay, so that. Also be sure to rate, review, subscribe. We have some new ratings, but no new reviews. And then follow us on Instagram at Vanderpasta. I did not do tweets this week because I didn't. I
texted Alicia. It's a freaking powder keg right now.
It's too much, and I just like can't handle it.
Readings are hard because they already go over everything. So like we're gonna hit on everything.
The thing is, I like the funny tweets. I like to chuckle. Like I sent you one tweet. It was a video, so I couldn't post it, but it was very funny. What
I did find funny was a picture of Lindsay and Paige sitting next to each other, and it was like they could not be more awkward on this couch together.
I know, they were awful.
I feel that though, it's kind of like when you're sitting on a full plane and you don't want to touch the person next to you. You're like, I'm actually gonna like squeeze right up against this window.
Oh, it was so
to not touch you or use the armrest.
Yeah, but on an airplane, no one cares about you. This was just like awkward for the rest of us to watch. The rest of us had to deal with it.
It's that just like let me cringe from afar moment.
And then join our Patreon, patreon.com/Vanderpasta. For $1 a month, you get access to all of our pre-shows that Meredith and I do where we talk about whatever we want. I've adapted from My Favorite Murder. I've started asking Meredith, what are you watching right now? Because that's what they always ask each other. And I get really good suggestions.
Oh my God, I didn't even notice you do that to me, but we just love watching TV.
I just want to talk about my TV. Actually, so yesterday I was listening to a podcast on the plane and someone was watching a TV show and I was like, I'd much rather be doing that. Even though I love podcasts, I was like, I'd much rather be watching TV. And you get access to any episodes we record early, which will be coming up soon. We have tons. Please join our Patreon. I'm not going to go through everything we have, but we have a ton of shit out on there. Just figure it out.
I actually was looking at it the other day and oh my God. And we have so much more coming.
I know we're about to drop so much stuff on this Patreon. For $2 a month, you get access to everything I just mentioned. Plus you get access to our after show that we do when we go back and watch old seasons. So we could still talk about Bravo News. And we will say your name on the podcast. So thank you to Kristen A, Dustin, Jackie, Kimberly, Cameron, Tiffany, Tracy, Gina, Jennifer, Kelsey, Mariah, and Sarah. Woo woo! Yay! You guys are the best. And if you join our Patreon long enough, I might send you a little gift like I recently did. I just did it, so I'm not going to do it for a little bit. But we have a tendency when we're feeling spicy to send out some gifts.
Well, it's nice to like mark momentous occasions, and the end of the season was a momentous occasion.
Oh my God, it was the end of like this and Vanderpump. This is our like thank you for sticking with us through the longest time of our life.
That and then like Christmas, because you just start thinking about gifts.
Ugh, I know. And then for $5 a month, you get access to everything I just mentioned. Plus for live shows, you get to give us your thoughts. This is the last chance for Summer House. Give me all your thoughts. We're going to read them next week. We want to know. This is it.
We legit will read them, and we don't change them. So like If you disagree with us, tell us.
That's fine. Call us out. Do it. I don't know.
I'll just
like,
respond.
just call us out.
So like, be prepared.
Call us out. Send us those thoughts. And then also we'll pick a patron of the episode. So to end it strong, almost, I like to think it's his favorite show in the whole world. I'm gonna pick Dustin.
Yeah, Dustin.
Dustin loves Summer House.
And he sent us a surprise, and we'll let you guys know next week because we're supposed to get it.
I know. We'll do a live unboxing.
Oh, well, we're in different locations. Are we gonna side by side this unboxing?
No, but if we at the same time on the podcast unbox, that might take a little long. I don't know.
I'll screenshot a picture of us next time we record with it.
Oh, beautiful.
So be prepared to be visual.
Okay, I think that's it. Should we get into this episode?
I don't know how I feel, so yes.
Let me take a big drink.
Well, I was about to say, Alicia and I are drinking. Cheers.
Oh yeah, we're mixing it up. I have wine.
I just hit
Meredith
my
has a
tooth
little
with my glass.
Spritz. She drunk.
I'm trying to.
Okay, so it's reunion day. We're all here. We're all gonna get ready. Lexi is here with Andrea, which is so fun. Listen, I want to date someone gonna be like
on it. First off,
she's here to watch.
My first question is, do you like these opening segments? We get them a lot more with reunions across the board with Bravo, like people coming in, chatting about how they're feeling.
It's fine. I could take it or leave it. If there's something before where people are like, I'm gonna kick her ass or like a bucket, like then I'm like pumped. But this one was very like, I just hope we make it through alive.
Yeah, like,
and I was like,
good morning. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It wasn't as fun as I thought, but like Salt Lake City and Beverly Hills, there was some like chatting before.
Yeah,
I
want.
Okay.
That I want. Or when Andy goes to visit them and they're like, he's like, are you ready? And she's like, I'm gonna get him. I'm ready to destroy her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got receipts. Then I get really excited.
I know. I'm like,
this was fine. Carl and Lindsay kiss, so we're finally official. Fucking, we can stop tap dancing around this relationship. Sierra's ready to say her piece and squash everything. Lindsay's hopeful people can watch how they act and take responsibility. Danielle hopes there's only plastic cups. Kyle has a faux hawk. I had to pause. I was like, wait, what's happening? It's like a mullet faux hawk. Okay, and I think best two girls dressed, Sierra and Lindsay. I think those two fucking murdered the outfit. So good.
But the theme, Paige posted that the theme was beach chic. And I think
there was a theme?
Yes. I think Paige nailed the theme.
There shouldn't be a theme.
Well, they're in Summer House. Like, look at the stage.
We're not the Met Gala. Okay, as someone who didn't know there was a theme, Meredith loves to. We did this the Met Gala too. I was like, she looks stunning. She's like, it wasn't the theme.
Hey, can you agree that Paige matched the theme?
I thought she looked bland. Now that I know there was a theme, I guess, but I'm still angry.
I'm pretty sure Zendaya was one of her inspos because of a neon skirt she wore.
I think Paige, compared to like Lindsay and Sierra, I thought she just looked a little plain. Like I wanted her to bring it more. Mm-hmm. Now that I know there's a theme, I guess
like the wet looking hair.
The theme. Yeah, she nailed the theme. But as someone who didn't know there was a theme, I refuse to believe that Sierra and Lindsay didn't look fucking amazing.
I hated Amanda's nails, especially because she talked with her hands so much. I was like
clamped them together. I agree. Okay, so we're starting. Andy says hi to everyone, including Mr. and Mrs. Cook. But Amanda didn't legally take his name.
Good for her.
I'm just gonna do a high level of like interesting hellos. Craig gave Paige no advice because he sucks at reunions. Horrible Southern Charm reunion guy. Like my least, usually I'll be like, oh, Craig's great. And then the reunion comes, I'm like, I fucking hate him.
I hate Craig after every reunion because I'm like, stop chiming in on things that don't have to do with you.
He's most of the time just like angry drunk. which like makes him worse.
And he's just saying stuff, and I'm like, you're not helping the situation or making sense.
I know. So Lindsay and Carl, their couple name could be Rad House, which I love.
That was the best one they threw out. I'm not sold, but best one they threw out.
Carlinda cracked me up because Maya goes, "Who's Linda?"
That's the only reason I like that one more.
Carlinda, who's Linda? But yeah, I loved Rad House. It's Andrea's first reunion, which I didn't think about, that he's only been on Winter House. Obviously, it's Maya and Alex's.
I was like, at first I was like, do not disrespect our Italian stallion. And then I was like, wait a minute. You right.
I wanted a Winter House reunion.
After 6 episodes, we did not need one. They should have had a Watch What Happens Live reunion if it was going to be anything.
Those would have been great. And it's maple syrup season. So Luke is tapping more than trees. Ba-doom. My hot dude. He gets all the love in the world.
This was like aired, what would we think, like a month ago? So who knew? I really thought, I guess it has to be in the summer because it would be frozen in the tree.
I don't know. Canada's always cold.
I'm about to walk up to my tree and see if I could tap that.
Luke will tap that. But
only if I slide into his DMs.
I love that. I'm like nervous to ever DM him now. Because if he responds, I'm gonna die. Okay, so we saw Andy come to the gross summer house, specifically Paige and Sierra's room. Super gross.
Okay, I'm sorry, but the cups, they didn't bother me. The whole house was disgusting. Let's put that base level. But like, I do this with cups where I'm like, oh, I'll take it down later. Like, you just think it's so far. And I'm like, oh, my iced coffee. I'm like, I'll take that later. No,
I usually finish. I have to, unless it's water, I finish what's in the cup, or I think it gets gross sitting out.
Yeah,
they had a full glass of orange juice, and
this is like, I hate orange juice anyways, but this is my honesty hour that this happens with my coffee sometimes.
No,
not like days by any means.
I don't drink coffee, so I wouldn't know, but usually I clean up those cups. Okay, Carl, do you ever get mad that Paige and Sierra seem to do nothing to help in the house? And he does say they sometimes clean up, but it's not consistent, which we see. I don't know why Paige and Sierra are like, we clean up and set up. I'm like, a little.
Okay, I was about to say, they didn't say they do it every time, is my defense. It's all about using the right words.
I know you love them, and I know you're not going to budge, but it's disrespectful. I'd be
pissed.
I
agree.
I'd be so mad if I was like Maya, who wakes up early, cleans everything.
Paige
comes down, Paige and Sierra come down, they take one cup, put in the trash, and they go back.
I'm saying they're being calculated with their words. They're saying we help set up and we help clean up, and that shouldn't be a problem, which I think it's rude too, because I'm not saying you need to be the first one out there, but it's like, as soon as you wake up, your first thought should maybe to be grab some water, and then second thought should be to like clean up.
Like, I wouldn't start the brigade, but if I saw other people cleaning up, then I would join.
And here's the thing, if you're not going to help, you need to lay in bed as long as possible.
Yeah, don't come out for water.
Do not sit in the kitchen and watch. Yeah,
don't watch. But no one seems to agree with them. They know.
I think Paige helps set up more than Sierra does.
Yes, I think they both help set up way more, because cleaning's gross. But we got to do it.
Especially for seeing the Andy actual full footage of him walking around. Gross. I was like, I would have trouble cleaning that up. He
smelled it. No. Or horrible.
Frat house.
Okay, so Lindsay gave Kyle what he described as the hardest boner he's ever had.
I forgot about
when she was talking about munching another girl's box. I think that's how they said it.
Yes.
Does that bother Amanda? And Amanda's okay with Kyle thinking about Lindsay girl on girl. That's fine. Whatever works.
I'm like, how did this make it to the reunion?
He's never had a problem getting hard. I know this was like such a minuscule thing. I like barely remembered it. Okay, let's talk about Hot Hub Summer. So we relive all the guys she hooked up with, talking about her miscarriage, kind of everything Lindsay had this summer. She finds it very therapeutic to share her story about the miscarriage, and just wants to help one person in her journey, because then she could say her journey was worth it.
And she said, like, she's been doing this for 6 years. I think once you're 6 years in, sharing everything you're going on becomes a little bit more natural. I think if this was like Maya, this would be different.
I agree. And I think that does help to know me sharing this hard time could help someone else in a hard time. Like if you think no one's going to relate, then you're not going to share it.
And people are way more honest about stuff like that. And I think that's really awesome because I bet she did help a lot of people. And you just furthered the discussion. Even if you didn't help one person, you're helping it in a way broader sense too.
So was Lindsay's miscarriage the trigger of Hot Hub Summer? Lindsay says it was a couple different things. She just wanted to do something different instead of getting attached to one person, which I appreciate. This bitch falls hard. Yes. She loves the lamest of dudes like Stravy, the lamest. God. But this was great. No attachment. She's doing the total opposite.
And yeah, like she said, like her summer would have been so different if she were still pregnant.
Yes.
So I kind of see that. You're like, let me look at the benefit of a life where I'm not having a child. Like this is what I get to do because I don't have responsibility.
Yeah, I loved it. So then we talk about Amanda's concern of her going from guy to guy, and she just invested so much into everyone. And we relived the convo in the vineyard where Lindsay's just like that. We asked Carl about his thoughts. They actually watched the show together and hold hands through the whole thing, which is kind of cute. But he appreciates how she puts herself out there and bears it all. And as long as the guys were treating her right, it was fine. Paige and Maya,
which Carl says some of them weren't, and Lindsay agrees, like, and they weren't, and like they weren't. I think where Carl's concern was, but there was. I just want to say this on Amanda and Carl's part, like, I think there's legitimate concern to ask your friend if they're okay.
I do too. I think it depends how close. I think Amanda and Carl were in the right to ask if Lindsay was okay.
Yes, because Amanda said like, concern. And I think Amanda said this or kind of gave this off even during the season of, it was not about her sleeping with anyone.
It wasn't. Yes.
It was just like, hey, we know you've been through this. Like, I just want to make sure like you're good, because like Lindsay does give herself like all into something. So it's like, you kind of want to protect her heart if she's not doing it for herself.
I agree. I think they had legitimate concerns that could be voiced. So then other people who had concerns were Paige, Maya, Sierra. We talk about the double standards. Why is it okay for a guy to have multiple summer hookups, but Lindsay was slut shamed? Like no one came at Luke. And that's when I thought, probably because no one listens to him and Kyle has to throw a fucking fit for any, no one knows what Luke does. No one listens. But then Paige says it's because Luke didn't have a miscarriage, which that was the first point I was like, I didn't like it. There was everyone through comments I didn't love, but this was the first one.
So if it was like, hey, he's never gone through this traumatic experience, I get that. Like he hasn't gone through this. So that's where I think their flags were raised a little bit. Whereas like for Luke, they didn't at least know of anything. So I don't mind that concern, but there is take the miscarriage out of it. There is a vastly different look at it, because look, we didn't even talk about anyone Luke was seeing, even in the city. And is that because he's not putting it out there? Or is that because like like the show itself is also trying to like make this a thing?
I also think that was just an insensitive comment in the miscarriage sense, because obviously Luke has never had a miscarriage. Yeah. And you're putting the double standard. Like we're like, why is there a double standard? Because Luke's never had a miscarriage. Yeah. Well, there's the double standard. Whether he has or hasn't, that shouldn't dictate like my decision to do anything.
I think it could have been said differently if the intent was, said differently. Well, we were worried because of what you had been through.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's fine. We were worried because you went through a traumatic experience, not this like, well, we didn't have to worry about Luke. Yeah. Luke's not getting pregnant. That's like when parents are like, we're not worried about him because he can't get pregnant. Fuck you.
But here's the thing is like, what if a partner of his like went through a miscarriage? Like, would you give him the same concern?
He can get someone
like granted, like bodily, no, because it is so different with your emotions and your body to go through that, but still like.
This is side note, but I wonder how Jason dealt with the whole thing. We obviously didn't see his journey, but I'm sure it's still traumatic. I'm sure he's still hurt.
He kind of also, from my perspective, it looks like they had a miscarriage and also kind of broke up and ended things over it. So like, you also are mourning a relationship in a way too.
Yes.
I also wonder, was he not on this show because of like everything that happened and they were parting ways?
No idea. Okay, so Amanda, so now there's argument happening. Basically, Amanda gets involved, and then Lindsay's like, let's just calm down. And then Paige goes, you are the last person to tell people to calm down. And I was like, ugh.
I was like, holy shit, there's already, I mean, we already knew from the promo of the not looking at each other type thing, but I was like, we are already laying it on thick.
I know. So then Amanda says no one was concerned that she was seeing multiple people, but just as a friend, want to make sure she was okay. And the Amanda comment was fine. We all agree on that. It was like the brothel comment that hurt Lindsay. And there were also multiple instances behind closed doors that other people who are not close to Lindsay seemed judgmental. So then the brothel comment gets brought up. And Paige explains it had more to do with Austin because she doesn't care who Lindsay has inside her. That's a direct quote.
Which so I mean,
Andy got so uncomfortable.
What a line. I don't care who she has inside her. I'm like,
Andy was like, okay.
Well, maybe let's dial it back.
Ooh, that was an image. The image that I pictured when she said that, I was like, whoa.
I imagine Paige standing in a bedroom being like, you know how in movies sometimes when people direct things, it's like they're like describing a situation like a fly on the wall. I imagine Paige is a fly on the wall with Lindsay and like Ahmed.
I saw a penis going into a vagina. Like that's all I saw was just like the actual act of sex, and I was like, intense. Anyway, so she doesn't care about that. It has to do with claiming that she liked Austin, but then hooking up with not Austin, then not that night.
That night, yeah.
We don't know his name, I don't think, but it's not Austin.
I think we got his name at some point, but I just prefer
he's
not
labeled
Austin.
As not Austin on Bravo.
Yeah.
So Lindsay says she thought her and Paige connected more this summer, and that's when Paige is like, "That's wild that you thought that." But we got that cute prom moment. It was that cute prom moment I really liked.
I'm like, wow, we are really heated. Like it just keeps
Paige
leveling up.
So heated so fast that I wasn't ready.
I was like, all right, I don't even know what to describe it as, but I'm like imagining sitting at a family table with my family and everybody slowly throwing comments like this. And I'm like, get me out of here. Get me out of here.
It like also physically hurts my heart when two of my favorite people are fighting on a show. So I'm like, stop.
Especially when they're sitting right next to each other, because at least you can like yell across the like way. Like Sierra and Danielle got to yell across the way. Fine. Like it's hard to have a fight with someone directly next to you.
I know, especially too because Paige isn't looking at her. It looks really awkward too because she's like, "That's wild that you thought that." Like looking in the entirely other direction. I'm like, "Ugh."
I know.
I don't like it. I hate it.
I hate it.
Okay, so Carl says. The difference was that Paige would say one thing to Lindsay's face and another thing behind closed doors, which I don't know if she did this because I don't think we got enough Paige and Lindsay talking about the issue.
But what we did get
behind closed doors.
Well, the things we did get of Paige talking to Lindsay and then Paige behind closed doors, they were different.
The prom moment was so nice.
Yeah. But like think about the like dinner where Kyle stormed off, like Paige saying we don't care about that, and then behind closed doors it's the brothel comments. And to be honest, Lindsay watching this back already knows all the Paige comments to her, so all the Paige comments behind her back are all been a surprise and all at once. So I think like what you know in the moment versus what's going on behind your back is really hard to rectify with, I bet, on this show.
That's true. I have to remember that they're all watching it and then like didn't know.
You like we're all seeing this all at once, so it kind of evens out in our viewing. So it's easier for me to like defend it as it goes up and down for Paige all season. But then like Lindsay watching it back, I can't imagine seeing all these comments like, about herself, being like, wait a minute, we had some really touching moments, and that's what I see. But then behind my back, you've been really shitty.
Oh, you're right. That's with everyone, I guess, too. Okay, so then Carl gets upset and it starts to get very heated. How Paige doesn't bring her relationships to the show, where Paige says she had two. Listen, she had Craig. Perry was iffy, but that's Perry's problem.
No, Page's. It was Andrea. She was saying she had two. Andrea and Craig.
I was also going to count Carl for a second because we saw that drama unfold.
Yep. I know. I didn't like that comment that Carl put out because
Perry's not her fault.
Exactly. If your significant other does not want to be a part of this, because it's a weekend show only, it's really easy for significant others to sit out.
Yes. Okay. But I do get where it could look, I guess, different. Not that she had a choice, she didn't. Maybe
especially for 2020, like that was a
that
COVID
was Perry
season,
was
and
not
that's
about
not
to
fair
COVID.
to lock someone in there for 6 weeks, and he's in the restaurant industry.
Yes. Okay, so then Paige says, "What did you do this summer?" And Carl said, "I had a fucking great summer." And everyone gets really uncomfortable because the rest of us did, and this is where we knew everyone would take off, and they did.
Let's discuss, because there's a lot of things.
Yes, there's a lot behind it.
Well, there's a lot of people, I think, putting words in Paige's mouth for this comment, and I don't like that.
True, but so I'm also though going to say that I think if we've learned anything from this summer house season, it's that what you say, whether in context or not, how it affects people is more the thing that matters. So I do think that this comment affected a lot of people negatively, and that's what Paige needs to take responsibility for. Whether or not we're putting words in her mouth, she didn't have enough words to explain what she meant by this, so it was taken in so many directions.
I'm gonna say probably something controversial, but I don't really care what like the world thinks. I care what Carl thinks.
Carl also thought.
So I think Paige only owes like Carl like an explanation or a conversation, because I don't like that people are like, oh my God, she said this when she didn't say that. That's what you're alluding to. She's saying.
Yes, but Carl also took it that way.
Let me put out, because we haven't actually said this, but a lot of people are saying that Carl said, "What have you done?" as in like, you've only done anything but be sober this season. Am I getting that right on Twitter?
Yeah. Paige was just like, it came
throwing it in his face
as like, you haven't done anything this season because like you're sober, boring. Like that's how people like interpreted it.
With bringing something to the season, right? Like that's what kind of people are saying is like, oh, you've done nothing for the season.
Yeah. What have you done all summer?
Which, because we texted about this.
Nothing. Yeah.
And I was like, no, she said like, oh, you didn't bring a relationship to the season, because the conversation they were having was about relationships. So that's how I took it.
I took it in
the context of it, like, you didn't. I'm being yelled at because I didn't bring a relationship to the season, and like what you brought is her name Mackenzie?
Yeah, I think so.
You brought Mackenzie on for like 2 episodes. That's how I took it, because of the conversation around the relationships.
It's crazy how we watched the same thing, and I took it differently. Like, I didn't even take it as, what have you done all summer, like insulting his sobriety. I took it as, that's something you say when you're just trying to shut a person down in a mean way. Yeah. You're just trying to be like, it's a nicer way to say, shut the fuck up, kind of.
And like, what are you doing?
Yeah. What have you done, kind of thing. So I took it as Paige is just being a bitch. Like, she has nothing else to say to that she's just basically ending it, which is how I took it. So I wasn't like, Paige is trying to make a point. I was more like, Paige is just kind of a bitch.
Shutting him down. Yeah. I agree with that. The only thing I want to say is that this part of the segment, I dislike them. I love Carl to death, but this felt like a Real Housewives where the husband is jumping in more than the wife. Yes. And I didn't like that. Like, when Carl's speaking more than Lindsay on a Lindsay topic, I wish it would have been more Lindsay talking.
I agree, but part of me thinks that if Lindsay started talking, it would have gotten worse. So Carl was like, I can articulate my feelings a lot better than Lindsay can. So that might have been why he took it. Yeah. Either way, this comment was very controversial.
I agree.
A lot of people are very unhappy. I don't think Paige meant it to insult his sobriety. She even said later she didn't.
Yes.
But we definitely took it different, and it's definitely not looking good for Paige at this
point. I know. And I think things get so escalated so much these days. Fast. And that's why I'm like, okay, whoa. Let's
have
fan these flames, because like, let's look at context. Let's look at where they talked or like kind of mentioned it later on. And like, nobody said like, we don't give a shit about your sobriety. And like, that's what they discussed later, but yeah.
So Lindsay was hurt about the brothel comment.
Mhm.
Paige does say it was a harsh word, but it had to do with all the Austin and flip-flopping and stuff. That's when Luke says that's what Paige did with Craig and Andrea. And that's when Paige says she wasn't sleeping with Andrea for over the summer and Craig didn't live at the house. But that's when Lindsay said she hasn't slept with Austin in 4 years.
Okay,
And
I think
just want to say,
I think it was different. I think they're similar.
I think they're similar but different.
Yes.
In the sense that
I think there's more conversations and like.
I think it's different only because Sierra's a roommate, Austin sucks, and he was playing both of them. I don't think Paige was playing
that.
Craig
Yeah, I think
Andrea,
Austin and Paige are the points of those two triangles, and I think they're different.
They're different. Yes.
Okay.
Do I think what Paige did was fine? Sure, because she was playing her own game. Do I think what Lindsay did was fine? Sure. Do I think what Austin did was fine? No, because he lied and he manipulated.
Yeah.
So
I don't think Lindsay was as open as I would have wanted her to be. Is the only difference in those two. With Sierra about her feelings. Like I feel like Craig and Andrea were pretty honest with each other, like each knew each other's side. Because they're the points of Lindsay and Sierra. I feel like those two are more respectful about each other, or at least got along better.
Yeah, but I think that has to do with other things not
I agree.
Related to
That's how I just think it's slightly different. It's like just the relationships between the three parties were way different in the Paige situation than the Austin point, I'll say.
Yes. Okay, Carl's sobriety. He's been sober now for 15 months.
Yay.
We love a sober king. So a few years ago, Kyle had said that he has to babysit Carl at Loverboy events because he gets too drunk. Now he's crushing it. How big of an asset is he?
Man.
Now he's babysitting Kyle. Kyle's a fucking mess.
They kind of mentioned it, but nobody Carl never actually talked about it. Like Andy said, oh, do you babysit Kyle Kyle now? And we didn't.
Paige made a face though. Paige was like, ugh.
Yeah. I think everybody's
Paige had though that stank face the whole reunion, but then she would lift up her mouth and make that weird smile when you knew she was awkward. And that's when they cut to that face that I was oh, man. Okay. So Carl says what he did this summer was he was sober for the first time and he hopes that's okay. And this is when Paige was like, oh my God, wait, I was not coming for your sobriety. Although she says it so and I understand she's uncomfortable and she feels defensive at this point, but she said it so harshly. I was like, ooh.
I think she realized then fuck, I'm screwed.
This is how it came across.
Because she was very defensive. She was like, I can't believe you would ever think that of me.
Yeah, Paige was like, no, I meant it in the relationship. This is when I figured out what Paige meant. And I was like, oh, because I didn't think she meant anything by it except shut the fuck up. But yeah, okay.
Which I mean, it's both, sobriety. Or it's not the sobriety thing, but it's both the relationship and the shut the fuck up. Let's be honest.
Yes. But then, this is where I wrote, I think Paige realizes how this reunion's going. I was like, oh, I'm
going to say, I think 20% of it is due to her sitting adjacent to them.
Just how body
it's you can't really address anyone. She's not going to look directly in Lindsay's eye when she's right next to her.
I guess. I think it just hard. It looks, I would say the 20% is her uncomfortableness on that couch, that it makes her body language seem harsher and her face seem really bitchy, which is not going great.
No.
She was compared to Hannah a lot. And I was
because look at how Sierra and Danielle got to talk to each other. You feel safe in your bubble. And you have somebody who's gonna flying. Amanda touched Sierra's back, and can
comfort.
Give comfort. Paige is on an island right now.
If hands go flying between Lindsay and Paige, there's no room. Carl should be in the middle of them.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm shocked Carl's not in the middle.
I don't know. Okay, so now Paige's body language. Paige hasn't turned to look at Lindsay once. And she says, yeah, you're right. She feels uncomfortable on this side of the couch. No one here likes her. And that's when Lindsay's like, that's not true. which I was like, we're trying, we're sending an olive branch. Like, that's not entirely true. You think differently.
I don't think Lindsay hates her, because I don't think Lindsay operates that way, but I would say, like, she doesn't have an ally in this reunion on her little couch with Carl.
She doesn't have someone on her team. Yeah, there's no one on her team.
So it's not like a hate thing, but it is uncomfortable.
No. But then she says Carl's been yelling at her the whole time. And Andy goes, the whole time? Okay. Like no.
Carl's not been yelling at her. I think Carl's been kind of debating her, but Carl doesn't really yell.
Sober Carl doesn't yell. The whole time. Andy's like, Kyle, you mean? Who are we talking?
I know. And like, here's the thing is, like, before Carl and Lindsay got together, not that this is like a Lindsay problem, but in previous seasons, I feel like Carl and Paige had like a fun little flirtiness. And so, like, he was an ally, but in a sense, now he's on, I'm going to say, Lindsay's side, not that there should be sides. So it's not like now kind of Carl is in that bucket of like, he's the one I'm going against on these conversations, because he's going to protect her.
I think before Carl was very neutral, but he's always had Lindsay's back. I agree with that. Girl.
But he's like Danielle, where he.
Yes.
I said Danielle believes in truth and light and first, and will like mediate things. But now Carl's really going to bat for Lindsay, which is not a problem, but it's not something Paige is used to.
Not something. Yes. But yeah, so there's a clear divide. She explains when you come in as a new person, it's hard to get into the group that was here. Like Paige's first season, she felt the energy between Lindsay, Danielle, and Amanda, and that there was like a clear hierarchy, and Danielle and Lindsay didn't talk to her. So when new girls come, they always feel more comfortable with Paige and Sierra, who are like newer and more welcoming. Which is like fun. Like, I think it's more of like Lindsay, Kyle, and Carl have known each other for how fucking long?
It's hard to come in on history.
Yeah, that's been like, because I think their first season, Kyle was like, we've been doing summer houses for 5 years. So like, that's at least
Lindsay
10
and
years.
Kyle have known each other really long.
And Carl was first. Yes.
That first season was his first time at that summer house, because he met Kyle in the city, and like he invited him or something.
Yeah. It's hard to come in on history. Now, do I think they're totally unwelcoming? Sometimes. Remember that time Maya wanted to go out?
That's the first thing I thought of. Yes. I think
at the same time,
there are situations,
I think you can tell
where
good.
I think there's situations where Lindsay and Danielle are just so used to being, like partners in crime, that they can't handle a third.
I also think, though, you can tell pretty quick when people don't mesh with you well. And I think Paige coming in with Hannah didn't mesh well with anyone.
Well, that's not true. On her first season, Hannah hung out with Danielle and Lindsay all the time. Hannah meshed with them.
Yes.
Oh, okay. And Paige didn't.
So I think Paige didn't mesh. And then I think Hannah started not to mesh with anyone, and Paige stood by her, which then caused a clearer divide.
Yeah.
Like Amanda's always been okay.
Outside of the show, Paige is still with Hannah. And that might be difficult for some people.
Yes. I don't know the group. I've always said I feel like Lindsay and Danielle are more my people. I know it's hard to get in on history, but I think those would be girls I'm more comfortable with.
Yeah.
Knowing
but
myself.
I can see what Paige is saying, though, like where you come in onto this group, it's really difficult. It's hard. You kind of do your own thing. She meshed with Hannah. If new girls come in, it's like, oh, come lay with us in bed. Like, I was visualizing how I like in Paige's life, how this would play out for me. And I can see this, not saying that Danielle and Lindsay did like anything intentional or malicious, because I don't think that's them, but I think that their history and their really close bond,
it's history,
like intimidates people. And like I said, it's not like they're doing it on purpose, but it's hard to find your place in a group. And so I think it is probably easier to become friends with Paige and Sierra, who are newer to this as well.
Yeah.
Like for Maya, we're talking about Maya.
Yeah. They don't have the same kind of history. And Maya already knows Paige. That's how she got in.
So and then like Maya and Sierra bonded at the beginning of the season and like talking to the group about like being Black women in this house. And so like you already have kind of those two bonds solidified, that there's other things they like Maya probably connected with. But it's difficult.
Be interested.
It's a girl's thing. You know, this always happens in every girl you meet. Like, let's be honest, this is a real life scenario.
I would be interested if like me, who knows no one, walks in this house and sees what happens. Someone who's already said Lindsay and Danielle are more her people, probably, but
how would it actually, play out?
Like, I don't know any of them.
I was about to say, if these are people we never watched on TV, I think Lindsay and Danielle, I think, in my opinion, would take a little bit more time to warm up to new people.
Yes.
And I feel like the bed girls are brighter and more fun, quicker on, where it's easy to like walk in and sit down on the bed. More approachable, I would say.
So let's go more about Carl. Yeah, let's just cheat. We've spent a lot of time on this and it was like not that important. Okay, so more about Carl. And now we're going to bring in Sierra because
I already forgot about this.
She wants to fuck him so fucking bad. That was the exact comment. So Carl says that he always knew about Luke and Sierra's history, so he kind of respected that, which I was like, no, you didn't. You still like totally made out with her.
I think that's a cop-out.
Sierra says she felt like, you know, she had other people she had her eye on, like Austin. Also, Carl was in a different phase, and if Sierra was going to be with someone who was sober, she would also want to be sober, which I get. I totally agree with that. So now we ask Lindsay. Sierra thinks that Carl has a huge penis. Did she know sparks were flying at the time? Or wait, did Lindsay know sparks were flying between Sierra and Carl?
And I was like, okay, whoa, them making out does not mean sparks are flying.
Yeah. And I kind of agree with Lindsay where she's like, I knew she was into him, but I didn't think sparks
but like flying. Like that question was like, oh my God, so much was happening. And sparks. I was like, okay, no. And even like, yeah, I don't think that's where it was at.
But what about the huge penis? That's what we want to know. Danielle knows. Danielle totally knows. She's sitting there.
The whole group knows, they said, because Lindsay won't say it, but then they're like, he said it on the bus. But Danielle's totally seen it because they used to date. I forgot about that.
Danielle's had that penis inside of her.
Stop. No, listen, Paige did it once. You chose to do it twice. I'm done.
Okay. Okay, so we take a break and we come back to Carl saying he wants to eat Lindsay's legs, which I was like, is this
I did not hear that. But then they were laughing about Kyle's shirt. And I was like, what are we doing right now?
The breaks were so all over the place.
Clearly we are like I said at the top of this, we are just getting through the Muppet in the room.
Like Danielle's mom calls her at some point and I'm like, oh my God, so much. Anyway,
I'm like, this needs to pick up because I'm kind of annoyed. Let's get to Kyle and Amanda fighting. That's what I can't wait for.
So we talk about Lexi and Andrea. I love how every time we have like a picture of Lexi and Andrea together, they have to point to which one Lexi is. Like we don't figure out she's not Andrea.
I know, because it's not a group of people. It is just the two of them.
And it's not like we're doing like not Austin. Like,
yeah, that's hilarious.
Funny. Yes. This is literally like Andrea and Lexi. This one's Lexi.
It's like, why don't we get that banner at the bottom where it like gives us just the name, like Lexi, like
yeah, we get an arrow.
Andrea's girlfriend instead of an arrow.
To mention. I was so confused. Anyway, Charleston. Robert didn't end up going to Charleston, but now he's in Aspen for the winter and then Hamptons for the summer. And then Brooklyn.
It's the same restaurant group. He's just flirting between all the cities.
We never know. But there's a restaurant in New York that I think Robert has a hand in. Him and Danielle posted it on their stories. They're looking for workers, which I was like, am I busy? I've never worked it. I don't want to embarrass myself that way, but just so you guys know, I'm stalking them. Maya's cookie business. I already knew about this because I've tried to order cookies and you can't order cookies because there's a 10,000 person wait list.
You should just get on it and put like your future children's name. It's like the Green Bay Packers season tickets. You put your future kid's name on it, so then by the time they maybe get it.
My non-existent kids are gonna get these cookies before I do.
Exactly.
Okay. Luke and Maya. People were like, you guys have so much chemistry. And
I was like, wait,
where?
what?
Where? We missed this whole bandwagon.
For someone who's so good at like tracking random things, I'm like, wait, we never heard about this once.
Why aren't they dating? I was like, what?
I'm like,
Because
Carl
there
and
was
Maya had
nothing.
more of a shot with their like chats in her room.
Oh my God.
Season.
Luke could hook up with anyone in the house before. I thought Luke and Paige would have hooked up before Luke and Maya. I never saw that one coming.
Remember when the promo shot came out and you were like,
they're hooking up.
Luke and Paige, they're besties. And I was like, all right, let's calm down.
No, but I was like, didn't see that one coming. So still confused. But Oliver, they're not official boyfriend, girlfriend, which shook me because
I was like, why are we playing the like Paige and Craig timeline? Like, what are we doing here?
Where was Watch What Happens Live? That was before I think the reunion was filmed.
Do you know what episode she was on?
It was a while ago.
This is around the same time at least.
I know. Okay, so I don't know, but they're friends with benefits. And Kyle explains what a benefit is for the people, for all the people.
Good God. All right. I'm going to look it up while
I'm going to talk about Alex's
and I'll talk
kisses.
about it at the end.
Okay. I'm going to talk about Alex's kisses. They're sweet, delicate, and toothy. That's how Sierra described them. Sierra, though, had good tongue to lip ratio, in case anyone was wondering. For the people.
I don't know if we're going to get much of Alex for the rest of this reunion. What's your ending thought on him?
No, he makes a good comment. We'll get to
okay.
it.
No, but not about his life. We don't talk about his life.
I think he has a lot more to give than he gave off, but it was hard for him to open up. Yeah. I think if he just like dove in a little harder, I don't think he's meant for reality TV, but I think he could be.
He's got to really like dive
a friend.
in.
I think he should be a friend.
Where he could like come back a few episodes, kind of like, I mean, we hated Jordan, but you know how Jordan came like 3 episodes after his season?
Get the fuck out.
All right. That works for me.
On Watch What Happens Live, Austin said Sierra was a better kisser than Lindsay. But Carl said that Lindsay's best kisser that he's ever kissed, because that's the right answer. There was only one way to answer that. I don't know why Andy even asked that.
I can't believe we're like talking about that Watch What Happens Live again.
We gotta talk about another Watch What Happens Live, because when I watched, Sierra was asked who's getting engaged next, Lindsay, Paige, or Danielle, and Sierra said Paige, and Andy was like, why not Robert and Danielle? And Sierra was like, I don't know, messy or what. She like alluded that there was like issues. I took it as Sierra doesn't like Danielle, but now we find out that
Sierra and Maya were sitting in the kitchen, I think.
Yes, this is when Robert and Danielle got into that big fight
at the beginning,
in the Nook.
Yeah, beginning of the season.
Nook. Yes, and I guess Robert said something like, goodbye, I'm done, or something like that, which I think's a drunken. I wouldn't take that seriously for a second.
But Maya said like Maya was like saying something under her breath. So if you like read the words, she was saying like he really did say goodbye to us, like he was never gonna come back. I believe Maya. Like if it was just Sierra saying this, I'd be like, she's being petty.
I think it was.
But Maya's saying that. Oh, I agree with that. But I think it shows cracks. I'm gonna say cracks in their relationship. You know, like that you're like,
perfect. Yeah,
that they're not like as solid as you think they are. And there's like, it clearly was over like where he's working, things like that, which are troubling things.
Yes,
I think they're fine, but I think it's normal for Maya to be like, yeah, like it's.
We just didn't know.
Yeah. Like we were like, wait, this is weird. Like, are they going to break up?
Yes. So that's what happened. Also, Paige said she is not going to get engaged anytime soon, which Craig's like a million years old. So he might die soon, but I'm just kidding. He's like 36.
Real quick update on that. Timeline stuff, because I love a good timeline.
Yes.
April 8th is when Paige posted photos about the reunion looks.
Okay.
And April 12th, I believe, around then is when Maya was on Watch What Happened Live.
Ooh, so damn, Oliver, friends with benefits. His benefit is going to Watch What Happens Live.
I'll take it.
10 out of 10. Okay, so then in another Watch What Happens Live that I watched, Danielle came on Watch What Happens Live and said that the least fun housemate is Sierra, but that wasn't retaliation. Danielle has tried to develop a friendship with Sierra, but it seems like Sierra doesn't want one. And Sierra says that they've only texted one time between the first summer and this summer, which is hilarious. What?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, but also I feel like I would text everyone
insane.
in the summer house and be like, excited to see you, just to be like,
I know, even
good terms.
That's insane to even if it's not like excited to see you, but like logistics, like, hey, what time are you getting here? Like you're telling me at one point you didn't text Danielle about any type of logistics between 2 summers.
Neither of them.
Yeah.
So then
even like she wasn't on Winter House, but like, hey, are you doing Winter House? You know, like some type of conversation about like production shit.
Yeah. But Danielle says Sierra's not an easy person for Danielle to get to know, which I appreciated that Danielle was like, for me. She didn't say like in general, which is fair. Sometimes people just aren't your people.
I agree. I think for me coming out of this, it's like, listen, I think they need to just say like, we're not going to be the best friends in this friend group. And that's okay. That's fine. Friend groups survive on being like, hey, I'm not that close with you, but we're both close to this group.
Yeah. 10 out of 10. Great. Okay. Andrea, it was his most challenging summer. It was his only summer we witnessed.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh because I feel bad for him, but it's hard because he's always so happy to like watch his sadness. I hate to laugh at it.
Some of the stuff he said, like, right, we're talking about Lexi, right? He met Lexi. He thought he was going to hook up with Paige. He broke up with Lexi. Lexi blocked him. He was sad. And then Andy's like, Andre, I have to imagine that your success rating with women is very high. And everyone's like laughing and they're like, no, it is. And he goes,
no, it's true.
Yeah. I was like, it's really hard to feel bad for you when like,
especially because
you have all the world.
He leads off with the no. And I feel like that's what a lot of us do. When we say yes, it's like, no, yeah. So like the no, it's true.
Like when you're trying not to brag, you're like, no, yeah, I'm smart. You know, like, no, yeah, I'm cool. This is like, no, yeah, it's true. Girls constantly love me. But yeah, he had a miracle happen. He got another chance. He hung out with Lexi, no kisses, which everyone again thought so fucking adorable. Did Lexi like the show? She liked the last few episodes, which I would too. Man, crying over me. I love it.
I mean, it would be kind of hard to be broken up with for this girl.
Watch him
for Paige
after another. Oh yeah, for Paige. Sorry, I'm thinking Lexi.
No, yeah, Lexi got broken up, or Andrea ended things with Lexi because Andrea was going to the summer house and was curious, I'll say, about what was left hanging with Paige.
Yes.
So then to watch it back and watch Andrea kind of figure out if things are happening with Paige would fucking suck. Even if you knew he came back to you.
Yeah, and then you watch him like absolutely fucking sob over you. I'd be like, winner.
I'd be like, this is it. This is the highlight of my life.
Yes. But Paige and Andrea will always be friends. He's happy for Paige and Craig, but he's also happy for himself. This man could tell me that I'm like the fuggliest person on earth, but it'd be so cute. I'd be like, thank you so much.
The words he would use in his accent. And he would probably be holding a coffee for me when he did it. I'd be like, marry me.
This is great.
You're in love with me.
So Sierra on her quarter life crisis. Sierra, were you serious when you called Luke the douchiest guy on Bravo? She retracts the statement. I agree. There are times. Okay. I'm sorry, Shep.
I know. I agree. I agree. The statement's wrong. When did this comment was it
Watch
said?
What Happens Live
On hers this season?
Yeah, it was. She went on Watch What Happens Live and was asked who's the douchiest guy on Bravo, and she was like,
I kind of feel like she panicked and just said something.
Yeah, she just said like the first dude.
Exactly. I don't think she believes that because Luke
should have said Austin in a second.
There's just so many people.
I would say watch Bravo.
Yeah, like
she only watches her own show.
Jax, even Kyle on this cast alone. Kyle.
Yeah. She needed to be careful. I mean, this was after the wedding, but you know, you tread lightly when people can give you stuff.
Amanda would keep you on that wedding guest list before Kyle could cut you.
That's true. That's
you
true.
Just you're better than Hannah is the only goal.
So Luke and Sierra actually grabbed dinner together. They're kind of friends. It was enjoyable.
I like this because I bet getting over the like, hey, we hook up. hump. No pun intended. Just like the becoming friends stuff, especially after the Hannah drama is a little challenging.
I mainly love the idea that Luke is friend zoned by everyone in the house, but he is just like banging all of New York City.
Oh,
like unbeknownst to everyone.
He's kind of like thirsty for friends too. Like he's such the Midwestern guy.
He loves friends.
He's like, oh, you don't bang me anymore? We'll be
friends. I get that. I love friends.
Me too. I'm like, if he's the douchiest person, I want to be douchey.
I feel like we relate to Luke on a level that only like
Midwesterners
most people will never understand. Like, we're like, I like friends.
I love friends. I love the quirky segments about him. It gives me a high.
It's so funny. So Luke has everyone agree. So wait, remember when Luke said it was hypocritical of Sierra telling Austin that he can't sleep in Lindsay's bed?
Yes.
Because
it was at that dinner of Lindsay's birthday weekend.
So most people agree except Paige, Sierra, Amanda, and Maya, which we saw coming. Sierra thinks, like Austin's coming to the house. So they like still possibly could have something, they weren't an item, but it was mutual respect. They'd hooked up before. Lindsay then says, like it's Lindsay's guest. She thought she would put him up, which she didn't say Austin can sleep in my bed. She said in my room. And I
think she said with me.
No, in my room.
Okay.
That in my room, which I was like, I kind of get this now.
Okay.
Because before I get this now too. Bad.
It sounded like with me.
Yes.
Like the context sounded like, he'll sleep with me.
Yes. And with like a roommate missing that weekend, there was an open bed. But I get the idea of your friend is coming. They will sleep with you in your room. Not like with you in your bed. Like there's, I don't know. Well, it made a little bit more sense.
Yes. I think understanding Lindsay saying, oh, he's my guest, so I will like find him a room. I'm like, yes. That's what people should do.
That's what I get. But then Paige was like, Lindsay, you should get back into PR because you're great at spinning shit, which again does not look her in the eye.
I know. All I'm gonna say is beautiful line though. Another great line.
I know. I was just like, Paige, if you're gonna insult her, like walk to the other side of the room because I get hives every time.
I know, but happens. I was like that was a zinger if I've ever heard one. I love it.
Zing. But yeah, so it's different when there are multiple people who have an interest in the person coming to the summer house.
Yes.
This
is challenging because
it's hard. It's all hard.
From each perspective, it makes sense to me. Like Sierra being
I see both.
Upset that the guy she likes is going to sleep in a girl's bed that he's slept with, but it makes sense now when Lindsay says it in that context of like, that's my guess. I'm going to make sure he has a room. We also know there's also another room. So I'm like, why was this even a conversation? It's like, he should have always slept in Andrea's room.
Maybe like, Lindsay didn't know Andrea wasn't, I don't know. I don't know. But then was everyone clear that Sierra had feelings? Everyone says yes, except Lindsay didn't know how intense these feelings were. So we relive when Craig came and Austin didn't. Sierra was super bummed out, and that's how everyone kind of knew that Sierra had feelings for Austin. Yes.
Kyle said it was very clear that weekend that Sierra had feelings, and we get the playback and she's like complaining about how he's not there. And Amanda says at one point, like, she had feelings, period. It doesn't matter the intensity level. And that's what I agree with that. Like, I feel like Lindsay just didn't have any regard for her feelings. No matter how strong they are. And we've discussed this in depth.
For himself. Yeah. But then we find out Carl called Austin and told him it would look thirsty to be on 3 shows, which I'm like, wait, why are we glossing over this? Yeah. Why are we glossing over this? First of all, the fact that Carl called Austin. Yep. Second, told him, hey, it's thirsty if you're on 3 TV shows.
Yeah.
What?
And the fact that Austin listened.
What? Yeah.
I was just like, completely flabbergasted by that point.
What's happening?
And I love that Paige is like, whoa, wait, let's actually talk about what happened. Because Carl was saying like, the reason Paige said this is because Carl was like, well, clearly he didn't like you enough to not come. And Paige is like, whoa. He didn't come because he didn't like Sierra. You called him.
I just have why was Andy like, yes, and we moved on. I was like,
okay, I do have to say, Andy is terrible at on the fly questions.
I was just like, sir,
I need more on this. This is the most interesting thing we have found out in this reunion episode.
We should truly host a reunion, because the minute we hear something we weren't aware of, we'd be like, back it up. Tell us. Everyone shut the fuck up. What have you done?
Okay, but here's the thing.
Shut the fuck up.
What we get benefit of is they probably lower down certain mics, and so we get to hear things clearly. Whereas Andy's sitting there like, that's true. 7 people are talking at me.
Andy probably was like talking to Kyle or something, and then it was like, I'm back.
I was like, man.
Also, Andy has a new baby. Is he even listening anymore? Okay,
not at this point.
You get my idea. He's older. He doesn't give a fuck. He's like these children.
I know he doesn't care that much, and that's why I'm like, I want a good reunion, and it all is on Andy digging into questions, but he's not like a freaking investigative journalist here. He's
you and I. It should be Andy at the top, and then you and I sit on each side of the couch.
No, I just need a microphone. I could be from afar. Like, get me in his ear, and I'll be like, whoa. Ask
but
Carl
we might not
that.
be able to hear as well. We need to be sitting in the
all right, we'll split the mics. No, we'll split the mics.
There we go. Because then you would be like,
get 3 audio feeds. Stop. I get 3 audio feeds, and it's opposite people. Like,
you would look at me and be
I get Lindsay, you get Carl. Yeah.
We got a comment we got to go back to.
Exactly.
Now we get into the Austin of it all. Finally. He's like, I love watching a love triangle. And I'm like, not this one, Andy. Nope. Could live without.
Some can be fun. This is like too serious. You know, like this is too real life.
Too long.
True.
Too long. So Maya and Alex, these 2 newbies, don't understand how fucking Austin is the cause of this drama.
Wait, Maya's saying when she met him, she thought he'd have a stellar personality.
I was like, this man has nothing. He is just tall. But then I guess Austin cursed out Maya and told her that her opinion doesn't matter.
I know, when she was like, that was insane. I was like, don't you dare. You already bitched out Paige, and she came for you. And you're going to take our girl Maya on too? Get out of our house.
Dare.
Collectively, get out of our house.
Get off my TV screen. But then he said he belonged in the house more than Maya did.
No.
Fuck you. Then Alex is like, how do all these girls fight over this man that is the Honda Civic of male attractiveness? And this is when I go invite Alex. This is when Alex should host the reunion. Like a biased reunion.
Thank you.
He watches.
Thank you.
Shows up and he has biased questions.
It's the reaction we've been all thinking in our heads, but you just put it so eloquently.
Now that it's clear that Meredith and I somehow hate Austin
and love Alex.
Let's get into it. So at one point it was Austin that caused a lot of the drama between Sierra and Lindsay.
Yeah, like everyone knew he was the problem.
Yes. The hatred has festered into each other. Sierra says she felt dismissed and disregarded by Lindsay, but Austin got an earful from her, which is when I thought we were going to get the comment about her hooking up with him. But that's next episode, I guess.
But what I will say is she was kind of, they said like, oh, the night of, it was all hatred towards Austin. A lot of people, and Danielle was really good about this, that like, it's his fault. Why are we fighting? Yes. And Sierra did try to talk to Lindsay. Lindsay was not having it, went into the pool house, like the shed, like we know.
It wasn't a good night.
It wasn't the right time for the conversation, but I understand if you go to have a conversation as Sierra and you get turned down, like you're now pissed even more.
It should have happened the next morning or that whole day.
I think everyone should have been in Sierra's ear coaching her like, Lindsay's hammered. This will not be a productive conversation, rather than screaming about Austin.
And then you have Kyle going, it's a pool house.
Yeah, walk away in that shed. Actually it's a pool house.
So but it's sad because Austin is more to blame. Sierra just thought, when Austin came to the house, there was no expectations. And if he was going to kiss someone, it would be her. But I do think there are expectations.
I think so too.
As a woman who's been in this, there are expectations that when they're not met, you're kind of sad.
Yeah, anyway, she was, no matter what, I think she was going to be let down. Let's be honest. It's the Honda Civic.
Yes. So at masturbation, which is secretly just Kyle typing on his computer, asked, does Sierra think it's hypocritical to be mad at Lindsay when she did the same thing with Lindsay in Vermont? And this is okay. We
talked about this.
So she says no, because in Vermont, Sierra said if they have something and they want to continue it, we'll take a step back, or she'll take a step back. And we saw this clip, but this is where I think the Austin of it all comes in. Yeah. She didn't say that it looked like to Lindsay. The clip he says to Austin, who's of course going to say, no, I'd rather hook up with you. Right.
But one other thing I will say is also different in this situation is that Austin said to Lindsay, they're just friends.
Yes. But his actions spoke differently. I think his actions are different. Actions speak louder than words.
In Winter House or in Summer House?
I think before Winter House and after Winter House.
Yes. In Winter
House,
he was clear totally with Lindsay about not wanting her.
Yes. I think before Winter House,
correct,
he was iffy, which made Lindsay iffy. And then after Winter House, he totally came back to Lindsay.
Correct.
Then Lindsay was like, okay. So I do think there is that difference, because I agree. Austin didn't specifically
Austin's behavior in the two houses, and even in between all the houses and things, was constantly different. In every situation, it was different, in my opinion.
This is where I think it was the Austin of it all.
This is yes, it's all on Austin. These two girls
had just spoken. If they had just had a calm, civil conversation,
I wish they were on a better level prior to Austin coming into their lives, because I think they could have had a more peaceful thing. Could you imagine if this happened to Paige and Sierra? This would not have happened. They would have talked about it.
Exactly. I think Austin manipulated this whole situation. I absolutely dislike him on my shows. Get off my shows.
He it's annoying because he did it so amazingly, is what pisses me off.
I know. How did he not?
He fell into the most perfect situation where he had a camera. That sounds sketchy, he was masturbating on camera, but he had this platform, these shows, and then he had two girls who didn't have a developed foundation, weren't really friends, but were around enough each other where they thought they knew enough about each other to not ask even.
Yes. It's crazy how this Muppet manipulated everything. Okay, so question for Amanda. Do you think Lindsay pursued Austin to get back at Sierra? Danielle takes a sip of her drink. So watching it back, it seems like Lindsay was happy for the situation with Austin to happen. On Lindsay's birthday. And that's when I was like, Lindsay was so out of her mind at her birthday. But yes, it does look that way. It does look like Lindsay was like, yay.
Lindsay's happy Austin for her. I don't think she's happy. I don't think she's happy to hurt Sierra separately. I don't think she truly wants to see Sierra pissed or mad or sad. But that's what I've said. I don't think Lindsay took her into account, and it's that's where she needs to work.
Yes. So, Amanda just says it felt like there was some malicious intent. And Lindsay says Austin was the one that made moves in front of everyone, which I was a little, but also a little Lindsay.
Especially because they gave us the makeout. Lindsay walks up to him and puts her little leg up on him, and then they both mutually make out. The pool, it's Austin grabbed her.
The pool.
Yes.
But
it does take two to make out. It
definitely takes two people. And there was something about Lindsay and Austin sleeping together in Montauk, which I was in the bed or penis and vagina. What?
Can you stop? I'm gonna murder you every time you say that, especially because of how we started this with the page.
I didn't say the inside. I just said like what kind of sleeping together.
Okay. Okay, because Sierra said that Lindsay was telling everyone that her and Austin slept together in Montauk, and that she found out about that.
Montauk.
No, before the dinner, the next week dinner. You know, when Sierra throws the glass.
Yeah. Oh,
Sierra found out right
they
before
slept
that.
Together.
That is what
like ideally
Sierra was hearing Lindsay was saying. But I think Lindsay said she hasn't slept with him in 4 years. That didn't happen. They didn't sleep together at least. But word around town, quote unquote, I'll say, Sierra heard
the word around town. Okay. So then Amanda then says Lindsay's amazing and beautiful and intelligent, but she gets interrupted by everyone, but is basically trying to say that what Lindsay did was fucked up.
She's saying like, Lindsay, you did something and now you have to deal with the consequences, which is true.
What you did was hurt Sierra.
Yeah.
And Sierra brings up Carl and Mackenzie and not making out with Carl when Mackenzie was there. And I was like, that's a little different. That again, it's like, you can't really compare the Paige triangle to the Lindsay triangle to this Sierra, Carl, Mackenzie triangle.
None of them are similar enough. But like, I understand it. I kind of understand. Well, honestly, it's as if Mackenzie came into town and Sierra went and kissed Mackenzie in front of Carl. Because it's the out-of-town guest. I'm trying to put it like, Austin, who's coming in?
I get it, but Austin wasn't Sierra's because he made it kind of clear to Lindsay.
He was coming for Lindsay's birthday.
Yes. So then it was like, you're not coming. And then she asked, like, what about Sierra? And he made it kind of clear to Lindsay, like, I'm not hooking up with Sierra, but then made it clear to Sierra, he's not hooking up with Lindsay. I know. So it's Austin. It's Austin.
Let's all agree it's Austin. And ladies,
I will never
open lines of communication. How about we all start having open lines of communication with each other, even if it hurts our feelings.
Lindsay says she didn't do it intentionally, but everyone else says she did. So then is Lindsay going to take accountability? She says yes, because Danielle explained everything to her at the volleyball game, which this is why I'm like, great friend.
Yes. I really appreciate Danielle for this, because you should have friends around you that help you grow. And I think Danielle does that for Lindsay.
Yes. And Lindsay's able to admit that she had some subconscious feelings towards Austin that she couldn't recognize. And this is when Paige tells her to just apologize. And Lindsay's like, I did in the jacuzzi. And she kind of did apologize for her part. She didn't say she did. It was hidden under.
She never said, I'm sorry, I hurt your feelings, or like that type of thing.
She did say, I understand like where it sucked and I'm sorry for my part in that.
Yes. Yeah. So, which I think was enough at the time. And I'm happy that people are like, listen, Lindsay, listen, Linda, for Carlinda.
Listen, Linda.
Like she kind of gave a Tom Sandoval type of apology where it's like, okay, I appreciate your effort here, but like, here's the apology I need now after everything.
Do you not like, I'm sorry for my part, like the part I played in that? Is that not an apology for you?
Well, only because in this situation, no, because Sierra was looking for, and what they were discussing at the time was that like Sierra's feelings were hurt. And so she was saying like, you never apologized for like hurting my feelings. You just said like, I'm sorry for my part in this. And so they were just like, can you just say like, hey, I'm sorry for hurting your feelings, and acknowledge your feelings. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry that your feelings were hurt. And I'm sorry if your feelings were hurt. And they were like, can you just say like, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings? And Andy was like, you're kind of giving a half-assed apology.
Yeah. I thought I understood where they were like, that's not the apology, but because she said like, I'm sorry your feelings got hurt and I'm sorry for the part I played in that, which I was fine with. I was fine with that apology, which was why I didn't understand why Amanda was like,
I think she was saying like, I'm sorry if your feelings, I think it was the like language they were saying. It was like I
listened to this verbatim.
She said,
I'm sorry your feelings got hurt and I'm sorry for the part I played in that.
Oh, then I think that's fine.
Yeah, but they kept going, which like, whatever. Eventually Lindsay says like, I'm sorry.
I don't think Lindsay was trying to mince words in that to be like not taking ownership. Because it's hard to not put that words in it, but sometimes the way people put that, in apologies is putting like a but.
Yes.
I'm sorry your feelings are hurt.
But I don't want a fake apology. I don't think Lindsay's sorry that she hurt Sierra's feelings. I think she's sorry that Sierra was hurt and Lindsay played a part in that.
Yeah.
So I was like, because then she does apologize and she's like, is that acceptable, Amanda? Which I don't want that apology.
I don't either.
Now we're making Lindsay apologize.
I know. It's getting like what you just read off like was good enough for me. Not that I'm the one who needs to accept it, but I understand sometimes like when people apologize, you're like, that's not an apology. Like, then
don't accept it and say, Lindsay, I don't accept your apology.
Yeah.
Because I think being like,
you're right. Having
him try again. Yeah. It would be like, why?
Because Lindsay tried like 3 times and you're right. By the time like the 3rd time came around, it's like, what do you want? Do you want me to write? You write the sentence out and I'll sign it. How about that?
I was like, it just stopped. Okay. So the Italian dinner, my poor baby Andrea was heartbroken multiple times. So Kyle, was Sierra wrong for saying that Lindsay can do whatever she wants and we write it off as who she is? And Kyle kind of says, well, if you're arguing with Lindsay, you're going to lose.
I agree with that. I feel like Lindsay's hard to argue with because I don't think, and this goes to like why I think Lindsay's not wrong, but her part is as difficult in the Sierra situation is that I don't think Lindsay has as much empathy for other people in the moment. I think later on she can have empathy for other people, but I think, and good for her on this in a sense. And it might be like a tactic to like help herself, but I feel like she is just very focused on herself and she defends herself to the end at no cost, like at any cost to anybody else.
I think Lindsay's one of those rare people that loves herself unquestionably. Like she is her biggest cheerleader
at all costs though.
And like, that's fine. She seems like perfectly happy, but I do think, I don't want to personally argue with her.
I agree.
It scares the fuck out of me.
It's kind of like Amanda said, like you can do whatever you want, but there is things to deal with after the fact.
Yeah. And Amanda does say it comes across as defensive and that Lindsay doesn't listen and her tone can be dismissive. But Danielle lets Sierra know that, Sierra also doesn't come across as approachable. Yeah. And Sierra's like, okay, but I'm not condescending. And then we're talking about the dinner fight now. We're like,
and Lindsay, to be honest, we're at this point now leveling up with these like little tiny insults of like, you're defensive, you're this. And I'm like, oh, this is starting to not get productive.
Yeah. And then Maya does let Lindsay know, like at the dinner, she was offended by Lindsay's reaction. But I think Lindsay just has that face where she's listening and she just like sits there. Because I don't think Lindsay was ready for it.
Again, I don't think this is something malicious Lindsay does, but I see what Sierra is saying. Yeah. Like it comes off and they don't know each other well enough to know these things about each other.
Yes.
But it comes off as you're not paying attention to me. But to Lindsay, she is listening to what you're saying.
Sitting there.
Yeah.
So the wine glass, Sarah let her emotions get the best of her. She was over being dismissed and disregarded in the house. It got to a point where she was trying to have a conversation. Lindsay had a smug look on her face and she lost it emotionally. And Danielle says she got involved because the conversation was going nowhere, which I agree. I think that conversation was absolutely doomed from the start, honestly.
And Danielle said she was trying to like mediate and she was listening. She was also listening.
Yes. So then Lindsay says, she was looking straight at Sierra and listening. And Carl says Sierra didn't get what she wanted out of Lindsay. And that's why she flipped out.
Which I agree. That made a lot of sense.
Carl really spoke some wisdom here that I was like, oh my God.
And you know what? Like, in the way people fight, I feel like it has a lot to do with how you've handled things in the past. Like, is your feeling good at squashing confrontation? Like if you've always felt dismissed in your life, I'm not trying to speak for Sierra, but I'm just saying if she's she's always felt dismissed in her life, this could be triggering for her. And I'm not trying to give her an out, but I always try and think of like, why are people the way they are? Yeah. And so she snapped.
She wasn't getting the reaction she wanted.
Mm-hmm. To be honest, she wanted Lindsay to sit there and be like, I fucked up and to start eating crow.
Yeah. And she wasn't. And I think Luke does bring up, Paige fueling it didn't help.
Mm-hmm.
And Paige says she was do it again, which I see where Paige is coming from and like, I'm going to support my friend if she wants to speak her mind.
Yes.
But I also don't think this was the right play. I don't know. I was like, it seemed like Paige was like, go off on her. Yeah.
I think Paige is right for saying I would tell Sierra to speak her mind again.
Yes.
And I believe that Paige did not want a wine glass thrown.
No, but I think Paige was like hyping out for a fight, and that's how Sierra took it. Or even if Paige wasn't hyping for a fight.
She was looking for a scream fest.
Sierra took it as a fight, you know, like a scream fest.
Yeah, yes. So, and it just elevated from there. But that's where it's like, I understand Paige wanting her friend to like defend it and
speak up,
defend herself and get it out. It's difficult. This is tricky because I think like Paige got herself embalmed in this of like, I'm now fighting for like Sierra's honor too. And it's like, be Danielle, like remove yourself and find how to come back to like peace and normalcy.
Yes. Like if Paige had stepped up when she saw the conversation was going nowhere and was like,
hey, let's go upstairs. Yeah.
Cool.
Like, this is not going anywhere.
Yeah. I don't know. I saw that conversation going nowhere. I don't know how the table was like, this could be good.
Yeah, there's more like Paige could have done if she really just wanted her to speak her mind and get it off her chest. It's like, once it got there, then you need to learn how to like help your friend de-escalate it.
So Sierra did have the wrong response. She's sorry. In the moment, she didn't even know she threw a wine glass. So Danielle asks when Sierra watched it back, why didn't Sierra reach out? I don't know the extent, right? We saw a little bit of the apology. I don't totally remember if Sierra was like, I am so sorry for harming you physically. Like,
yeah, I don't remember the apology, but I swear somebody told her that she threw a wine glass.
I think Maya
So I feel like in her apology to Danielle, she knew at that point.
I did too. And I think it would have been nice if Sierra reached out, right? I don't think it's absolutely necessary.
I agree. Especially because Sierra says we weren't in a place for me to contact you. And she said she wishes she would have now.
Yes.
But I understand that where you're like, man, we do not have a relationship. I don't know if it's
going to be receptive. Yeah.
Like,
and
remember, they've only texted one other time.
One time. So
I have a hard time. I feel like this would be if I were in Sierra's position, I'm going to be honest. I don't think I would have texted Danielle.
Oh, I think texted.
I think it's kind of hard.
I would have texted. I'm the person that would rather reach out and not get a response than wish I had previously reached out. I'm a Lindsay.
If I have no relationship with you, then I feel like it would be very difficult.
I don't know. I think I would, but I see why. I can understand why Sierra thought, I'm not going to reach out. And I understand now Sierra wishing she had, because I think that would have been the right thing to do.
Also knowing you do have this reunion to talk about it too. So that's a thing normal people don't have. Like, you're going to talk about it at this reunion.
Yes. So Danielle had a bruise and she wasn't even coming at Sierra. She was just trying to change the course of the conversation, and it went to the ugliest point. And as women and as people of color, it shouldn't get to that point. Watching it back has been really tough for Danielle, and people have their opinions, and she wishes there was some sort of resolution. And Sierra agrees, but just doesn't think there was a relationship there. And she does apologize. And this is when Danielle says that the amount of time that's gone by has been so long, and she hasn't heard from Sierra, that she's developed hatred for Sierra. Which I get.
Understand.
I mean, someone threw a wine glass at me and I haven't heard from them, I'd be like, fuck you.
I agree.
But the difference is I would have gone into this and been like, fuck you. I have no feelings towards you. Where Danielle is like, she doesn't want to hate Sierra.
I know.
And she's like savage.
I think she's not like BFFs with her, but she knows how to like remain in a neutral, like, I'm not going to let this affect me zone. Yeah. And I really admire that. And it's something I'm going to strive towards. I think it's really admirable. Great. And I love seeing that perspective of a really dramatic season, is seeing Danielle's perspective. And I think a lot of people should strive to be like her.
I do too. I love Danielle so much.
Me too. Okay. I think it kind of like wraps that up in a like, if there's a lesson to learn from this type of like season or like come out of it, like I feel like Danielle is like our shining star.
Yes. So on part 2, we talk more about feelings. Kyle's kind of drunk, I think.
No, Andy asked if he drank over lunch and he said, no, I wish I would have.
I know, but he slurs his words right before that. And I'm like, question.
Man, maybe, well, you know what? Again, it's all about choosing words. Maybe he was hammered from the start.
There it is.
All he asked was if he had a drink over lunch.
No,
I've been
but I
hammered
drank
since
in the dressing room.
Yeah.
Or I drank with breakfast. So it's time to question Kyle. He got off
This
easy.
is where I think, I don't know about that. I just don't think they're showing us at all.
No, episode 1 or part 1.
Oh, yes. Easy. Yes. I thought you were saying
second one.
We're
coming.
Guys, we're all going to be on the same side again. I can't wait.
So excited. So, no one likes these photos of Lindsay and Carl. I just want to know why. I don't care. I just want to know why.
I can't wait for that discussion because, again, it's random little like tidbit, but I'm like,
so petty.
Are we going to blame it on the algorithm? Is somebody going to speak up and like, is Danielle going to be like, I like your photos? I don't know where this conversation is going.
It is straight up the pettiest thing for people to be like, you didn't like my photo. If someone says that to me, I'm always
no, but like it's Andy.
What? But this is like, none of you like these. Like all of you were liking photos before they got together. And now I'm like, this conversation's so petty, but I want to know everything.
And it's like it's a viewer submitted question. I know. Who is like tracking this to this degree?
I don't know. Please listen to our podcast. You're amazing. If that's you, let us know.
Let's do a whole episode with you about who's liking what.
Give us the timeline. So I love a timeline. The Kristen Cavallari thing is brought up, and Lindsay knew for a month, but maybe not.
And we said her full name, did we not?
No, we didn't.
Oh, damn it.
Just me. Come sue us. But Sierra gave Austin an earful off camera, and Lindsay asks if that's when they hooked up. Which, bitch, please tell me this is not true.
Which in this preview is when Sierra says a month after. So this is not directly after. Like we thought it was.
What do you mean?
Sierra said a month after the incident is when she gave him an earful. But in the earlier previews, it was just, and then I gave him an earful.
Oh.
So it seemed like
August,
right after the
time.
weekend.
Yeah.
It seemed like right after the weekend, she slept with him. But now it's like a month later, she actually slept with him, which is that the wedding?
Oh, God. Oh,
because even if it's like in our like episode timeline, quite a few episodes later, they were doing like 2 episodes a weekend.
Sierra girl, you are so much better than
I know.
Muppet. Speaking of, I can't wait for the next season of Southern Charm.
And Winter House. We still have not gotten Southern Charm preview, but like Winter House will be on this fall. It's a lot.
Southern Charm doesn't come on for a while, I feel like, but I'm gonna look at Craig and Austin through such different lenses now.
Here's the thing, they have to air it before Winter House, in my opinion. They filmed all last fall. There's no way they can air it in tandem with Winter House. That would just be weird.
I mean, 3 shows.
I think it's going to come out in July and do July, August, September, and then Winter House will be October.
Oh, I guess we'll see. We will not be covering.
I'm terrible at predictions, so
we will not be covering Southern Charm. But if you listen,
we'll be discussing it on the pre-show and after show.
Yeah, we're
because we watch it. We're not.
We love Southern Charm. I hate Thomas and Catherine forever.
I have a friend who lives in Canada, so she started Summer House after the fact and said she started watching Southern Charm so she could see what Austin and Craig are all about.
I got 2 friends to watch Southern Charm because I talked about it so much over COVID because that was my COVID show. And one of them texted me and was like, Catherine and Thomas are just an absolute fucking mess. And I was like, it gets worse somehow. And then she literally goes, oh my God, like Peacock doesn't have season 4. Like I just finished season 3 and Catherine was about to like have her second baby. And I was like, God. Oh my God.
I'm like, but the early seasons of Southern Charm, if you're going to start and you have never seen it, binge through the early seasons because the Craig Austin stuff is really like later on. Austin doesn't join till way later.
Yeah, Austin's like, and honestly, I had a big crush on Austin. When I met him for the Winter House thing that I went to, one of my old roommates that we watched Southern Charm together, she immediately DM'd me and was like, oh my God, did you meet Austin? Is he how cool is he? Do you love him? And I was like, oh my God, he's amazing. I'm absolutely obsessed with him. And now I'm like,
That's where Maya's comment about him not having a good personality kind of shocked me, because I was like, I would think he would have a good personality.
I think he's really fun. I think it's just not a stellar personality of like women should fight over this man.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like he's fine, right? Remember like Chelsea from Southern
Charm?
Friend. Yeah, she was like, Austin's cool, but he's kind of a dud.
Yeah.
Like, you date him and then you realize he sucks, so you break up with him. I think that's
He's Austin's a friend. Vibe. He's not.
Yeah.
And not friends we kiss. Not friends we kiss.
Not with the mouth open.
No. I just watched One Tree Hill where they do that boy toy auction and they all have to kiss at the end of the night. And Haley and Lucas have to kiss. And she goes, I swear to God, if you put tongue in my mouth, we will never be friends again. And I was like, friends don't kiss. Friends not don't with kiss.
Tongues. Not with tongues. We just kiss with our mouths open.
I don't want you to kiss me with your mouth closed. Don't honestly, kiss me if we're friends.
I had one friend lean in one time. We were hammered. He leaned in one time and I literally go, what are you doing? And he was like, I was like, oh my God, I need to die. And he came in with a closed mouth. So God only knows if he came in with an open mouth, I would have taken his tongue and snatched it out of his mouth. Whoa, I would have been so scared.
On that.
Okay, wait. So
no, anything else you got on the actual episode?
I wanted to ask you, who do you think had so far a good reunion, a bad reunion? Do you think people will
just having a horrible reunion? But I think
very
she's
unfortunate.
Just pissed in general.
I think
even just her sitting in that room is having a horrible time.
It's almost like her and Sierra had the last two seats and she was like, I will.
Oh no, they place you. Production places
Bravo
you.
Does. Yep. Bravo really screwed her on this one. Yeah. I think everyone had an okay reunion. Alex is my top so far. He had the best. Dude has not done anything wrong. He's only done good.
Him and Maya are 10 out of 10. I need more from the end of the couches. If I'm honest, I'm kind of sad.
I forget who's there. I was like, oh, it's a loop.
It is. We're locked on Kyle, Amanda, Sierra, and then Paige, Carl, and Lindsay in those tight shots.
Yeah, we don't get Andrea, Alex, Maya,
Luke, and Maya. Yeah.
I mean, I want to know if Luke and Maya have ever kissed open mouth. That was my new.
No, I'm out.
You didn't stop. That was a question.
No, someone it wasn't.
Caught onto something.
If they should be together, and I say
someone's caught up to something. I want to know where it came from.
Well, I'm ready for episode or reunion 2. That's what I'm really excited for.
I'm ready for this to end so I can move on to the old summer house where everything. I want to watch one of the Workis sisters throw a watermelon.
Season 2. We're gonna get after it once this is wrapped up.
Be sure to join the Patreon. Follow us on Instagram. Do everything else. Listen to us. Just listen to us. Love us.
Bye. Bye.